Thank you very much, Nakdimon. That concludes part one of our debate. Those were the concluding statements from both Yahya19 and NakdimonB52. We will now move into our crossfire round. Each participant will have 3 minutes apiece. Okay, back and forth for at least 6 rounds, we have decided. But let us actually ask our participants, because sometimes it can either seem like a little bit too much depending on how the debate's going. So perhaps we can get a sort of a consensus here between our 2 participants. The 6 rounds seem enough at the time. We will check later on, but 6 rounds back and forth. A round is basically each person 3 minutes. Okay, that's fine with Nakdimon. Yahya, are you cool with this? Okay, sounds good. So we will do at least 6 rounds, and we will then, assess the situation later on. I, the moderator, will not intervene. So, simply somebody goes up 3 minutes, the next person gets it, and back and forth. I will not intervene unless somebody deviates from the topic or goes outside of his time block of 3 minutes. Let's keep in mind that Yahya19 does have a 30-second credit. Yahya, would you like to simply announce, one of these rounds right now that you'd like to tack that onto, perhaps your first or your last round, or the final conclusive round? I guess would be the 2-minute one at the end. Okay, first round. Okay, so Yahya will begin the crossfire with 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and we will move on to Nakdimon and so on and so forth. Yahya, let us begin the crossfire. Your mic.
Excellent, excellent. First, I'm going to address 21:13, and I will make, actually 21:11 through 21:13. Let's start with 21:12 actually. Then God said to him, "Do not be distressed about the boy and your maidservant. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Sarah that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the maidservant into a nation also, because he is your offspring. When you have a king, and the king has 2 sons, and the firstborn, and the king passes away, the throne goes to the firstborn. This is the case with Ishmael and Isaac. In this case, the throne went to Isaac, and the king, the royal line, went through Isaac. This is why you have all the kings coming through Isaac. This is what it means. The lineage went through Isaac. The offspring, the promise of the offspring, went through Ishmael. Once again, they are both called seeds in this verse. Abraham's seed and Abraham's offspring. This does not negate Ishmael from the promise. It just says that the lineage, the royal lineage, will go through Isaac, which I agree. Inheritance, in other words, went through Isaac. But the promise of a nation that will change all nations on the earth went through both of them. This is verified over and over again. So I addressed that issue. Now I'm going to address Genesis 17, I believe it was, let me see. Gosh, where was it? Where Ishmael, 17:18. Abraham said unto the Lord, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before this blessing." What is the blessing referred to there? The answer is given just a few verses above in Genesis 17:16, and this is talking about Sarah. "And I will bless her, and also," now keep in mind also, which means it's already with Ishmael, with Hagar, "also give you a son by her. Then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall come from her." This is what Ishmael cannot have. This is what Genesis 17:18 means when it says, "And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael may live before this blessing." It is the blessing of kings. It is the blessing of kings, which indeed came from Sarah came from Isaac. Once again, Suleiman, David, the Messiah, Jesus, King of the Jews, they all came from Sarah. They all came from Isaac. This does not negate Ishmael from the promise that is promised to him of a great nation. It is the great nation of Ishmael that changes the world, and has changed the world as it has been prophesied. All nations shall be blessed through the nation of Abraham, which includes Ishmael. And I guess with that I pass the mic.
Nakdimon, it is your mic, sir. Let's remember, we can just take the mic immediately after our opponent. Thank you very much.
What is interesting is that Yahya first appealed to said that when I mentioned Genesis 22 as Isaac being the only son as far as the covenant goes, he said, well, that makes sense because Ishmael was miles removed, right? And now he appeals to Genesis 22:18 and said that the kings will go through Isaac, but the promise of offspring will go to Ishmael. Where did you get that from? Please, can you provide us the proof? But to show that Yahya makes no sense, this is what it says in Genesis 26 verse 4 regarding Isaac. And I will make thy seed. Now, you all heard Yahya say that the promise that all the nations would be blessed would go through Isaac, right? To Ishmael, right? This is what God says about Isaac. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. Hey, just as he said to Abraham in Genesis, right? In Genesis 15, I guess. And I give thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed all the nations of the earth be blessed. Now let it be known that this verse makes it clear that the promise of the offspring being a blessing to the nations is not through Ishmael, it is through Yitzchak. Genesis 26 verse 4 refutes the point you're trying to make, Yahya. There is no question about it. Isaac is the child of the promise. Isaac is the child of the covenant. And I don't know how you manage to separate the covenant from the promise. The covenant is the promise. There is no separate covenant separated from the promise. The promise is the covenant is the promise. And I would like Yahya, when he comes up to the mic, I'd like to address him to address this verse. Genesis 21:12. God said to Abraham, be not dismayed concerning the lad, concerning your handmaid. Whatever Sarah tells you, hearken to her voice. In other words, God says, throw her out just as Sarah has said. Now, this is the verse I would like you to comment on. For in Isaac will be called your seed. I would like to know, Yahya, what does God mean when he says that? For in Isaac will be called your seed. If this is not if this is not about the promise and the covenant, then tell us what it is and provide the proof. Thank you. Your mic.